Alright, welcome back to Console Crapshoot, where we spin a wheel to play a random video game on original hardware. We played something pretty standout and unique last time. Let's see what console we're going to get today. Alright, we're going to be playing the original Xbox, no complaints there. Underrated console, in my opinion, and it looks like we've got 867 games left on this wheel. Alright, it's going to be Star Trek Shattered Universe. That's funny, there's 12 Star Wars games on the Xbox. Only one Star Trek game, and that's what we got. Star Trek games known to generally not be as good. It's funny that we always compare the two, right? Just because they're in space and they have Star in the title. They're very different things. Like, extremely different, but I'm a big fan of both from my entire life. But as I got older, I really grew an appreciation for Star Trek. More so. They're very different. This game stars the wonderful George Takei. George Takei famously played Sulu in the original series and the movies. Later in the movies, they made him captain of the Excelsior, and that's where we find ourselves in this game. Walter Koenig, also in this game, who played Chekhov. But Sulu's the star, and George Takei, how we say, has a very interesting way of speaking.
Star Trek's sixth undiscovered country, which I subtitle Captain Sulu to the Rescue.
Very unique man. And there's no shortage of clips of him saying ridiculous things from all of his appearances on the Stern Show.
I better gird my loins.
But George Takei, interesting, unique cat. Gotta love the guy, and this game, I guess, takes place in, I guess you don't know unless you're a Star Trek fan. There's a thing in Star Trek called the Mirror Universe. This game is essentially a Mirror Universe episode. There's an alternate universe where everyone's kind of the opposite. Like, it's a whole universe full of evil twins, basically. You know, there's a you over there, and he's got an eye patch, and he's up to no good. So Sulu and the Excelsior get kind of transported into the Mirror Universe. Problem with this is, the people that wrote this game don't know much about Star Trek. Something that happens in this game does not match up with what we know about Mirror Universe. Sorry, I'm going to go down a little rabbit hole here. If you're not a Star Trek fan, it's probably boring, but I'll try to summarize. These episodes where, someone from the main universe gets transferred over the Mirror Universe. They're over there, and everyone thinks maybe that they're their evil counterpart, and they have to kind of, navigate that. In this game, though, the ships, Sulu's Excelsior and evil Sulu's Excelsior, kind of trade spots, and our Sulu all of a sudden has a big scar and he's wearing an evil uniform.
Young, wet bitches.
You don't switch bodies. You don't just get the person's eye patch and scar when you go over to the Mirror Universe. That's not how it works. In fact, there's Mirror Universe episodes where your evil counterpart is there and you meet them. You definitely don't switch entire ships magically. That's not how this works, and maybe the writers were confused because they saw the episode Yesterday's Enterprise where that kind of does happen, but that happens because of a time situation where it affected history. The time thing happens and then they're switched into this alternate reality where they are kind of not evil versions of themselves, but alternate, more warlike versions of themselves. I think they saw this episode and kind of mixed it up a little bit, and they didn't quite get it. I can't imagine too many people playing this that aren't Star Trek fans. So if you're a Star Trek fan, this is kind of bullshit. So right there, right off the bat, game losing major points from me. But let's move on. It kind of plays out like every mission in the game kind of plays out like episodes of a season of a show. That's kind of cool, gives it kind of a cinematic feeling, like it's its own show. But what's kind of stupid about the game itself is, Star Trek is all about big capital ship battles and stuff. That's not really what Star Trek's about, but whenever there are battles, they're big capital ships. Very, very rarely do you ever see like fighters and fighter pilots. That's kind of more of a Star Wars thing, a Battlestar Galactica thing. Every once in a while you might see some of that, but it's not really how it rolls. But here, the entire game, every mission revolves around fighter pilots and these little smaller skirmishes. Yeah, the capital ships are always there, and they're always kind of part of the mission and the strategy of what's going on, but literally every single mission hinges on these little fighter pilot guys. So again, somebody doesn't know much about Star Trek. You gotta kind of know what you're doing. This is 40 years of lore at the time of the making of this game. The graphics are fine for the time. The missions are fine. It doesn't control too well. It's a little clunky. It's hard to aim. Awful collision detection. It's a bit glitchy, I have to say. And it's super repetitive. It's just fly to the thing, shoot it, repeat. Some of the missions are super, super long, and there's no checkpoints, so you're playing a mission for 15 minutes and then you die, you start the 15 minutes all over again. Now, if I had to guess, and this is pure speculation, we're going to go back to the Star Wars comparison. A couple years before this game came out, a game called Star Wars Starfighter came out on the same console, same generation. It looks to me like someone played that game and said, let's make a Star Trek version of this game. And who cares if there's no real like fighter missions in Star Trek? I'd have to go back and play it to see how it compares in terms of quality. I have a feeling Starfighter was better, like much better. This is like a cheap copy of it. Similar look, similar vibe, similar gameplay. The highlight is honestly just the fact that George Takei is in it.
You got nice muscles.
But I think we've said enough. That's enough of this game for me. Let's give a verdict to Star Trek Shattered Universe on the Xbox. Big disappointment. I haven't played a lot of Star Trek games, and I was hoping to find a little gem, something that I didn't know existed. George Takei, while being awesome and was happy to have him throughout the whole game, was not enough to get around the pretty bad game design. So I'll have to give this one a 2 out of 5. Maybe high on the 2 scale, but definitely a 2. And that ends a huge streak for us, actually our biggest streak. So previously, the record was episode 16 to episode 26. That was 11 games in a row without getting a good game, a 4 or better. But now, we were on a good streak. We had 14 games in a row that were not a 2 or worse. So good, great, and amazing games for a while. First stinker in quite a bit, but that was a good run, I have to say. Can't complain. Is this the start of a new trend? I sure hope not. Maybe we can get back to some good stuff. We will find out next time. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you then.